Hello, everyone. So today we're going to talk about escaping destructive tendencies and suicidal thinking. So over the years, because I produce a lot of videos about mental health and self-help and, spiritual methods for addressing our immediate problems, over the years, I've talked to dozens of people who were suicidal and are not now, or had destructive thinking, self-destructive thinking. And first and foremost, I would like to say that your consciousness, your existence is valuable in your own unique way. You have to understand that there is nobody who has been just like you are or will be just like you are. So you are valuable to the rest of humanity. But how does destructive thinking and suicidal thinking operate? And my hopes for this video is to display these things to you so that either you can understand your own thinking when you're in this loop or when you encounter someone who is in this loop, and perhaps how you can pull them out of it. So, somebody who is suicidal, almost without fail, they will go, I try to work through individual problems with them. So I start off with trying to address all the individual problems that make them self-destructive or suicidal. It's almost like taking out items out of baggage and addressing every item, giving realistic solutions to all the things that cause or that they allow to cause suicidal, self-destructive thinking. Working logically through all of these pieces, all these items within their own baggage. Whether it be, I can't find somebody who's right for me, then I work through them with various ways to find somebody who's right for them, or I can't handle these financial situations, talk about ways to work through these financial situations. And as the thinking and as we narrow our conversation to more acute and cute thoughts, individual solutions, individual possibilities for everything within this bag that we slowly start to pull out together. There's a lot of times when the thinking becomes more obtuse after a while. For instance, I can't find somebody, I've been through all this trauma, and then we start taking this apart, and then it eventually goes back to, a lot of the time, oh, I just want to kill myself. Because a lot of the time when you're in that suicidal or self-destructive thinking, it's not logical. And the first step is to try to figure out logical solutions for every single one of the items within somebody's baggage. But I found that many people return to the obtuse rather than the acute, rather than the addressing individual situations or individual problems. It goes back to obtuse thinking. Oh, I just want to kill myself. So what's very important when you're talking to somebody who is suicidal or self-destructive, you as the person talking to them cannot react emotionally. You have to keep an even level with how you're talking to them and what you're talking about. And once you reach the point, if you do reach a point to where the thinking becomes more obtuse again, I just want to kill myself, that's when there's a different tactic. But always keep your emotions, when you're dealing with somebody like this, always keep your emotions level. You don't want that person to shut down. That person shutting down is the worst case scenario. If they're talking to you, that means that they are still open to being helped, usually subconsciously. They're communicating. They're not on the edge of the abyss. So when you get to the level where it's like, okay, we've tried to address these problems one after another, I've maintained a level state of emotion. What do? because a lot of the time suicidal or self-destructive people return to the beginning of the loop. Oh, I just want to kill myself. That's when you have to help them realize body consciousness. Because when you activate the instincts, the human instincts for survival, that's when we get out of our emotional body, we get out of our emotional consciousness, and we come back to, survival. You want that survival ping to happen when somebody's stuck in an emotional loop of self-destructive, illogical thinking. So, and this might seem like a strange comparison or description, but a lot of people who cut themselves, like I have many times in the past. I mean, I'm kind of an extreme example because I got dozens of scars here, and there's about 2 dozen that are visible. They're white now, so when a scar is white, it usually means that it's been a long time. This is not a new scar, but I have many scars across my body. The reason I think that people cut themselves, because there's not a lot of like actual good data or analysis on this, because usually people in analyzing the people who cut themselves are very disconnected. Usually in society, we think that people cut themselves because they want attention. And that's actually a minority of cases. It's not the majority of cases by any means. There's way more people that try to hide their scars. And I've talked to many people who cut themselves. Usually women are more open to discussing it than men. Men usually when men are depressed, they kind of like retract from emotions, retract from reaching out, and they just kind of like go into themselves. Women, on the other hand, usually reach out to friends when they're depressed, want to talk about it. So mainly the examples that I have in my own lexicon of memory are women who are talking about, why they cut themselves. And there's always this, this is true for males too. Males just don't talk about it, but there's always this, agitation, like all this energy building up within, all this frustration and all this anxiety, and everything's just building up within, and then cut yourself. Usually, a lot of times on the thighs. That's how a lot of people hide it. But and then like there's just like calm. I keep on hearing about this calm after cutting, and what it is that there's a few factors here. So one, and these are all my own theories. I'm not drawing this from anything, but there's not a lot of good understanding on this. So that's why I had to develop my own theories over time, over the years. So a couple of my own theories are subconsciously, instinctually, we want to light up areas in our brain. When you look at the not a brain scan, but if you look at what parts of the brain are the most active in a depressed person, usually depressed people have way less activity in the brain, not because that they're stupider or they're using less of it, but all the places that are happiness within the brain produce a lot of energy, and it shows up in scans. And pain lights up the brain. All these areas of depression, they kind of like light up. We instinctually might do that to produce this more activity within the brain. Also, and I'm leading to better options than this, but also when we are stuck in an emotional loop, to activate instinct, people cut themselves, and then you go into survival instinct. Survival instinct is completely opposite from self-destructive or suicidal thoughts. And then that puts that person within that mindset. But what's better than cutting, you should not cut yourself in order to alleviate this pain or to bring yourself back to your instincts or your body consciousness. What's better than doing that? What's better than cutting? Because cutting is long term, it is not feasible. It'll damage you psychologically. But breathing exercises do the same thing. So when somebody's suicidal or somebody wants to cut, and I've talked to many people who are on the verge of doing this, I try to bring them back to their instincts through and survival instincts through breathing exercises. And it's extremely hard to get somebody who is that depressed where they're either going to be suicidal or self-destructive in some way to go into breathing exercises. But it triggers the exact same instinct. So let's say, you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 3 or 4, and then let it out for 3 or 4. Just 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds. But that, just a breathing exercise of doing that over and over again, brings you back to body consciousness and gets you out of this emotional loop that many people get stuck in. I've been stuck in it too. I'm not just like calling people this. I've been stuck in this too. And I've done breathing exercises and I was like, this does the same thing as I don't have to cut myself. I don't hurt myself. I can just breathe. I can just do these breathing exercises and it activates instinct. It activates survival within you. Strangely enough, as weird as it sounds, it does the same thing. You don't have to cut. You obviously don't have to kill yourself. But if you do the breathing exercise just like the one I talked about, again and again and again, for even just a minute, back to body consciousness, back to survival. So if you're dealing with somebody, if you want to help somebody, recommend a breathing exercise. The seconds don't exactly matter. But just make sure that they breathe in for a certain amount, hold it for a certain amount, and exhale for a certain amount. That brings us back to body consciousness. That brings us back to instinct. And our instinct is not to die. When we're body conscious and not wrapped up in this emotional loop of, oh, I just want to die. Because, once again, even if you go to logical, acute thinking, dealing with every single one of the issues that this person is dealing with, I found again and again and again, it goes to obtuse thinking. Oh, I just want to die. It's a circle. You want to get somebody out of that circle. You want to get them back to body consciousness. Suicide hotlines also use body breathing exercises for this reason. Because suicide hotlines deal with people who are in this, obviously suicidal. So as long as they're talking, and keeping somebody talking requires you to not change your emotion, but to keep on dealing with them on the same level that you had and not just get frustrated. Do not get frustrated with somebody who is suicidal or thinking about bodily harm. Don't get frustrated. Just keep your emotions on the same level. Once you realize that they're stuck in this loop of acute, you travel with them through the acute, and then they return to obtuse. They do that. Bring them to breathing exercises. That is the way to escape self-destructive and suicidal tendencies and actualities. It's such simple advice, but it's actually it's remarkably effective. And having talked to dozens of people over the years that were suicidal, you need to get them back to the base level of existence, just survival. Because I think Sadhguru said this, if we were creatures, there's only one way to be a dog, there's only one way to be a lion, that's the way you are, there's no confusion. But since there's so many ways to be a human, we get hesitant, we get caught up in our own thoughts, we don't know which way to be for ourselves, so we end up making mistakes and having anxieties that aren't necessary. it's kind of funny that we have these higher computational abilities and understandings, yet the way for us to survive when we're at our lowest is to activate our animal instincts. And I'm not looking down at anybody when I say that. I've had to do this for myself. And I've talked to people who have helped me do this for myself. At times when I was at my lowest. This is not, somebody is not stupid because they want to die or because they're in a lot of emotional pain. They just are at a point in their lives when their lives are very difficult. And I think that it's the duty of every other human being who has contact with this person, if they reach out, to try to help them get back to a place where they can at least have a baseline of, okay, I don't want to die. I want to live. Now what do I do? That's a whole nother process after that. But if we can just get somebody who is suicidal back to that baseline, somebody who is self-destructive thinking, back to that baseline of, okay, I'm back. Now what do I do? That's a huge step. That's a step that a lot of people have to take, more than you might think, because a lot of people become self-destructive and suicidal. You're not alone, and the people that you love or know are not alone. A lot of the time, we're just all feeling alone separately when we have so much in common. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, I'll hit that thumbs up down there. It really helps out the channel. Feel free to leave a comment if this helped, or suggestions. I'm open to that. And do your best. And I guarantee your best is enough. Thank you very much, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.